hypocotyl, option B and D. Hypocotyl is that structure that looks like the stem. It's more or less the stem plant, the germinating plant, that slender part, that is the part called the hypocotyl. Then the upper part, towards the apex of the plant, we have what we call the epicotyl. So those are not types of germination. And I said that epige germination is a type of germination in which the cotyledons are carried above the soil, while hypoge, the cotyledons are carried below the soil. So this type of germination is called epige germination, option C. The next question. Plant growth can be artificially stimulated by the addition of A. gibberellin, B. kinin, C. abscisic acid, D. ethylene. Gibberellin promotes cell elongation and cell division, while kinin promotes cell division in the presence of auxin. Abscisic acid, together with auxins, they control leaf fall and fruit fall, that is abscission of leaf and fruits falling off. That's what abscisic acid does. Then ethylene is concerned with the hastening of fruit ripening. When you desire that your fruit ripens quickly, ethylene is needed. So that's what ethylene does. But the question says plant growth can be artificially stimulated by the addition of what? Of all these four plant hormones, which one will stimulate plant growth? And that is A. gibberellin. I said gibberellin promotes cell elongation and cell division, and those are functions of growth. When the cell elongates and it divides, then growth is occurring. So the answer is option A, gibberellin, which promotes cell elongation and cell division. The next question. 1 says growth is mainly apical. 2 says growth is specific and definite with definite shape. 3 says growth is throughout life. Which of the above describes the growth pattern in plants? A says 1, 2, and 3 only. B says 2 and 3 only. That is growth is specific with definite shape and growth is throughout life. C says 1 and 2, which says growth is mainly apical, then growth is specific with definite shape. Then D says 1 and 3 only. Growth is mainly apical and growth is throughout life. When you consider the plant, discover that the number of organs of plants you cannot determine. You cannot say a mango tree has 10 branches with 200 leaves and this, you cannot determine that. Unlike in animals that you say a goat has 4 legs, 2 eyes, 2 ears, and other organs of the body that you are sure this is the definite shape, the eye is of this shape, the legs are like this, the wings are like this, and all that. You can tell of the shape and the number in animals, but in plants you cannot do that. So that rules out 2. Growth is specific with definite shape. No, in plants growth is not specific and you cannot even define the shape. So in a particular plant, somehow you discover that you have different shapes of leaves, even of leaves sometimes when you look at it. So you may not be able to determine shape, and growth is not specific. You cannot say, okay, before in the lifespan of a particular plant, let's say of a purple plant, you have 5 stems and 20 leaves. No, you cannot say that. Then growth is throughout its life. A plant keeps growing. Once it is not dead, it is not cut down, no natural disaster, it keeps growing until it dies finally. So the growth will keep occurring, even though the rate of growth now will be determined by the level of stage of the plant. For instance, in a tree, a typical tree, for example, that has secondary thickening, that has a cambium, and it keeps growing. After 10 years that you have planted your orange tree, for example, you will not expect that it will behave the same way as the first year you planted it. The first year is just developing the stem, the leaves, the branches, and all that. But subsequently, after it has reached full maturity, year in, year out, the leaves wither, they fall off, new leaves come in, then fruits are being generated every year. So the rate of growth may be different, but it keeps growing throughout its life. So in plants, growth is throughout its life, then the growth is not specific or with definite shape. Then growth is mainly apical, majorly apical at the tip. At the tip, on the top, at the tip, at the branches, that is where growth occurs. So growth is mainly apical in plants, or like in animal, all the parts grow together. But in plants, it grows at the apex. But in animals, the parts grow together, develop at different rates and all that. But in plants, growth is mainly apical, that is at the apex, at the tip. So that leads us to option D, 1 and 3 only, which says growth is mainly apical and growth is throughout life. So that will be all on growth, because I told you earlier that you have a few questions on that and you are expected to just know basically about the types of germination in plants. Now we'll look at the last topic under form and function, which is coordination and control. Coordination and control. And the first question says, under coordination and control is quite large. What they are expected to know, we talk about the various sense organs. Organ for sight, that's the eye, the nose, the hair, the skin, sense of taste, sense of smell. So you have to know all that. That's one of the things you are expected to know. The deficiencies of them. We talk about hormones too under coordination and control. The nervous system is also included. Topic is quite broad, but I've been able to extract questions from 97 till date, so you'll be able to see the variability or the variation in questions that can be brought under that. Now, the first question we'll be considering says the correct sequence for the operation of smell in mammal is A. Chemicals to olfactory nerve ending to brain. B. Dissolved chemicals to nasal sensory cells, then to the brain. Option C says chemicals to mucous membrane to sensory cells, then to the brain. Option C says dissolved chemicals to the sensory cells, to olfactory nerve, to the brain. Now, in perceiving smell, what happens first is that the chemical or the smell, so-called smell, but it's a chemical now, gets into the nostrils, and it is first of all moistened by the hair in the nose, and then it is sieved before you start to perceive it. Now, and the order or the sequence for that operation is the chemicals, then the sensory cells we work on it, then it will go to the olfactory nerves, then the brain will interpret what kind of smell it is. So that's option D, dissolved chemicals to sensory cells, to the olfactory nerve, then to the brain. The next question. In mammals, the organ which performs digestive and endocrine function is the A. liver, B. the pancreas, C. the gastric juice, D. the salivary gland. The liver regulates blood sugar, or glucose to glycogen, glycogen to glucose, making sure there is a balance in the sugar level of the system. Then the pancreas, we have the gastric gland, that is the gland that produces the gastric juice in the stomach for digestion. Then the salivary gland produces saliva that moistens the food before it is swallowed, and then before the further digestion process takes place. But this question is very sensitive in the sense that it says which performs digestive and endocrine function. Endocrine function, You know, we have two types of gland. We have exocrine and endocrine glands. Exocrine glands have ducts through which they secrete body fluid to outer surfaces of the body. Exocrine, they have ducts through which they secrete fluid to the outer surface of the body. For instance, the salivary gland is an exocrine gland. So that rules out option D. Gastric gland also to produce gastric juice. But endocrine glands, they produce they secrete, what they secrete, the chemicals they secrete is directly going into the blood. It's not coming on the surface. So that's the difference between endocrine and exocrine gland. Now, pancreas it performs digestive function at the same time it performs endocrine function. And pancreatic, we have the pancreatic hormone being produced by it. So pancreas is the organ which performs digestive and endocrine function of the four. The next question: in which part of the human body does the secretion of the growth hormone occur? A. Head region, B. waist region, C. neck region, D. gonads. Head region, pituitary gland. Waist region, we have the adrenal gland. Neck region, we have the thyroid gland. Then gonads, we have the testosterone, progesterone, and the estrogen being secreted there. Now, the pituitary gland is the master gland because it controls the activities of other glands in the body, and then it secretes growth hormone.